During a routine patrol in the waters off Sri Lanka, a Navy crew noticed something that didn't make sense. At first, it looked like nothing more than a dark shape drifting far out in the ocean, but something about it felt wrong. The officers slowed their boat and stared across the waves, trying to understand what they were seeing. The object was moving, slowly, struggling. Curious and slightly uneasy, they guided the patrol boat closer. The waves were rough that day, and the ocean stretched endlessly in every direction. Whatever was out there had no business being so far from land. As the boat approached, one of the sailors suddenly leaned forward. "Wait, what is that?" The crew squinted through the bright sunlight reflecting off the water. Then someone shouted, "It's an elephant!" For a moment, nobody spoke. An elephant, 8 miles away from shore, fighting the open ocean. The enormous animal was barely keeping its head above the water, its trunk lifting repeatedly like a desperate snorkel as the powerful currents dragged its exhausted body back and forth. The sight stunned everyone on board. Elephants are strong swimmers, but this one was clearly reaching its limit. Its movements were slow, heavy, tired. The crew immediately realized the terrifying truth. If they didn't act quickly, the animal would drown. Without hesitation, the Navy contacted the Sri Lanka Animal Protection Center. Within minutes, what had started as a routine patrol turned into an emergency rescue mission. While they waited for the wildlife specialists to arrive, the sailors stayed close to the elephant, carefully maneuvering the boat to keep the exhausted animal within sight. None of them could stop wondering the same question. How did it end up here? Had it been separated from its herd? Did it wander too close to the coast and get pulled away by strong currents? The mystery would have to wait. Right now, only one thing mattered: saving its life. When the animal rescue team finally arrived, the situation looked even worse than expected. The elephant was completely drained. Its massive body floated awkwardly in the waves, its trunk lifting again and again just to breathe. Even for such a powerful creature, the ocean had become an enemy. The rescuers quickly gathered with a Navy crew to come up with a plan. But there was one huge problem. Their vessel wasn't equipped to lift something that heavy. An adult elephant can weigh more than 5 tons. There was no crane, no lifting equipment, no easy solution. For a moment, the team stood silently, staring at the struggling animal. Then one of the rescue experts suggested something bold. "If we can't lift it," he said, "we guide it." The divers immediately began preparing for the dangerous task ahead. They would enter the water, surround the elephant, and slowly escort it back to shore. It would take patience, perfect coordination, and absolute calm. Because one wrong move could send the terrified animal into panic. And in the open sea, panic could mean disaster. One by one, the Navy divers slipped into the water. Cold waves closed around them as they carefully swam toward the exhausted giant. The elephant turned its head slightly, noticing the figures approaching through the water. For a moment, nobody knew how it would react. Would it panic? Would it fight? Or would it trust the strange group of humans trying to save its life? The answer would decide everything. For a few tense seconds, the divers stayed perfectly still in the water. No sudden movement, no loud voices. The elephant lifted its trunk again, pulling in a deep breath before letting it sink back beneath the surface. Its massive body swayed with the waves, clearly exhausted after hours of fighting the ocean. Slowly, the divers began forming a loose circle around the animal. They didn't touch it at first. They simply stayed nearby, creating a calm presence in the water. The idea was simple: guide it, not force it. One diver gently moved closer and carefully secured a soft rope around the elephant's body, making sure it wouldn't tighten or cause pain. The rope wasn't meant to pull the animal, it was only there to help guide its direction. Then, the long journey began. The human chain slowly started moving toward the distant shoreline. Every few seconds, the divers checked each other, making sure everyone stayed in position while the elephant struggled forward through the wave. The ocean was still rough. Sometimes a wave would push the elephant sideways, forcing the team to quickly adjust and guide it back on course. But little by little, they were moving closer to land. Minutes felt like hours. The elephant was clearly drained, yet somehow it kept pushing forward, lifting its trunk again and again to breathe. The divers felt their own strength fading too, but none of them were willing to stop. They had come too far. Finally, after what felt like an endless battle with the sea, something changed. One of the divers suddenly felt sand beneath his feet. "Shallow water!" he shouted. A surge of energy ran through the team. The elephant seemed to feel it too. With one final burst of strength, the exhausted animal pushed forward through the last stretch of water. Then it happened. Its massive feet touched the ocean floor. Slowly, carefully, the elephant stood. For the first time in hours, it wasn't fighting to stay alive. Cheers erupted from the Navy crew watching from the boat as the rescuers guided the animal onto the beach. The giant survivor had made it, safe. And as the elephant stood on the sand, it raised its trunk high into the air and let out a powerful trumpet that echoed across the shoreline. It was as if the animal itself was announcing to the world, it had survived.